Om Om Sadashivasamārambhām Shankaracharya Madhyamām Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahi Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidyushavahī Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurum Paramanandam Vande Swananda Vigraham Yasya Sannidhi Matrena Chidanandayate Tano. As we have been discussing, especially after this dhyana, that too, step by step, and we have almost come to called Agya Chakra Dhyanam. And after discussing Agya Chakra Dhyanam, this going to inner space, and that started through the Navamudra and going beyond. And of course, when a person does this, the whole concept is that everything is Brahmamaya. There are many references. If we look at Yoga Tantra concept, through this, the person will be able to do Vedanam. Vedana means passing through 3 knots called Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, and Rudra Granthi. It's a very technical word we use. So, Brahma Granthi means that is in Muladhara. And Muladhara is connected to earth element. And because of earth element, what happens? Definitely that comes with the attachment with body and etc. And interestingly, that survival instinct or getting attached to this physical body and material world becomes predominant. And that is not because of anything, but because of that we call technically called Brahma Granthi. So that is a knot. Means the Muladhara is not taken care. Also, we look at, that's why the few verses will come later on. That's what I was looking at. That's why I am bringing these points. After 2-3 verses, it will come. And of course, here, because of this Brahma Granthi, the knot is so strong there. The fear, insecurity becomes predominant in life. And one is supposed to work on that. And God said, don't ask me why and how, okay? So if you ask me, I'll say, okay, thank you. Either you leave the class or listen to Goraksa Samhita from the beginning. And as you start working on Brahma Granthi, especially working with your instinct, with your fear, and of course this insecurity, then you pass through this Brahma Granthi. So the knot is unknot. Then you go to Vishnu Granthi. Vishnu Granthi happens to be in Anahata Chakra. And being in Anahata Chakra, it is connected to Vayu Tattva, air element. And once it's connected to air element, definitely what would be the product? The product would be emotion. And when it is emotional issues, so the outcome will be emotional entanglement. Earlier was gross, body, and material world. And here, mainly that emotional entanglement and which will lead to identity crisis. It's a very subtle point to understand. And when that is being done, so one need to pass through that because, as you know, for Muladhara to pass through discipline is most important. Whereas Anahata to pass through Shraddha and devotion. There is no other. And moreover, that's why this seva attitude is being highlighted. The organizations, those who are not talking Vedanta, but at least talking on Karma Yoga, they are much, much better than those who talk on Vedanta. We call as dry Vedanta, Suska Vedanta. Because full of emotions, identity crisis, ego, but for anything and everything, there is justification. There is no Sheva Bhava. Always there is a transaction. How much I did and how much I'll get back, or I am going to get back. We called, technically, completely transactional mind, business oriented mind. So for that, we highlight Shraddha, we highlight devotion, we highlight Seva Manobhav. Develop the serving attitude. Spare some time for serving. Remember, when you serve, you have to be very careful. Whether you are serving out of insecurity or you are serving to have name and fame, ego, or time pass, that also to be looked into very carefully, or else this will lead much more complication later on. And of course, finally comes to Rudra Granthi. So this Rudra Granthi happens to be the location, happens to be in Agnya Chakra. And being connected to Agnya Chakra, the element would be space. So when the space is the element, so definitely the person will be associated with intuition and high thinking. But when the person is connected to intuition and high thinking, there are challenges. And the first challenge would be connected to intellect. One idea. So intellectually, the person is entangled completely. And of course, there is pride. And of course, wherever there is pride or whenever you are proud of something, other side is you are also feeling low. Because without inferiority complex, there cannot be superiority complex. Wherever you present yourself that you are superior than others, that time, some corner of your mind, there is inferiority complex in you. In fact, the more you consider yourself inferior, accordingly, you present yourself superior. And this Rudra Granthi brings pride, unnecessary pride in me. And because of that reason, even though I grow, but there is always illusion in me and I becomes separated. And here is being taught that through this chakra dhyana, one will be able to pass through, one will be able to do Vedana of Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, and Rudra Granthi. And while discussing, we have already discussed this point that how verse number 75 and 76 Gudram medham cha navischa Prutpadmam cha tadudbhatah Ghantika lambika sthanam Bhrumadhye cha nabhobilam Kathitani navetani Sthana or ध्यान स्थानानि योगिभिः उपाधिस्तत्त्वमुक्तानि कुर्वन्ति अष्टगुणोदयम्. So while looking at this, that please understand, we very carefully look at that everywhere we try to bring or combine all this Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva Tattva. In fact, in Rudra Hrudaya Upanishad highlights, Antaratma Bhavet Brahma, Paramatma Maheshwara, Sarvesham Eva Bhutanam, Vishnuratma Sanatana. Such a beautiful verse to look into. So playing with the words, playing with the deities. So the inner self is Brahma, the Paramatma is Shiva, and also in every living beings, The Atma that is exist is nothing but Vishnu. So in short, there is no difference between Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And when we look at this way, that then only this Kundali Jagrata, the awakening of Kundalini, take place. And when we look at very carefully that we use as 8 types of Prakriti, so when the Kundalini awakens, also it goes through 8 stages. And many other things also takes place. That's why he tries to bring, last we discussed this verse number 75 and 76, highlighting this Ashtasiddhi. So when this Ashtasiddhi takes place, especially when a person starts dwelling upon Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, then that little top space Navamula, then goes little further, and finally we called Ajna Chakra and above. So these are the 9 places to be dwelt upon. So when it is being dwelt upon, then only we say Kundalini starts going up, merging with Shiva. So this is called Shiva Tattva. In fact, this is how the Rudra Granthi Vedanam is being done. As I look at, especially Tantra Shastra, many things to be observed in a few moments. I had observed few points in Kamaksha place. It's a very nice place, very good energy, very raw. I feel like going sometime now. But this Navaratri I cannot. But I feel like going Navaratri and staying there. Who knows? So, because I am now completely out from my mind. Here, when we bring this Tantra, it becomes much more easier and convenient to understand yoga. In fact, yoga and Tantra always go together. And here, let us read so that it becomes easier. Nabho Sayapnya Pavanagati Madho Rodhaya Samprayatnad Akunchaya Apanamulam Hutabha Sadrusham Tantuvat Shukshmarupam. Tadbadhva Krutasaroje Tadanudalanake Taluke Brahmarandre Bhitvate Yanti Shunyam Pravishati Gagane Yatra Devo Mahesha. So now he says, what is to be done? First, the person, Nabhu Sayamya. So there should be Shayamana. There should be special training, control. management with reference to Navi. So that means, in short, Manipura. So this Manipura chakra, you need to work. That's why the most important aspect, I would say, that you must not allow the tamas to take over your abdomen. That's why avaksham is not allowed. This is the concept here, most important. We have discussed in different contexts, especially in Shiva Samhita, we have discussed in details. When you consume food that are not to be consumed, whether it's non-veg, whether it's old food, there are many things, okay? Also, the food that is cooked by a person who is not supposed to cook. There are hundreds of points. So when you consume food that is considered as avaksham, means not to be consumed, that category, definitely there will be tamas in your lower abdomen. So once there is a tamas, it is like sun is clouded. Will you like clouded sun? So as the clouded sun does not help, so also when the tamas is predominant in lower abdomen physically, definitely you will have low energy. That's why we say, when you have low energy, the best thing would be, don't waste your energy. Do fasting. Doesn't matter, even if 5 days, 10 days. Till you make sure that the lower abdomen is light. It's the most important point to observe. Then only you can do Uddiyana Bandha. This is what is being taught here. Because if you cannot do Uddiyana Bandha, Swamiji, my stomach is not getting inside. Thank you. That means tamas has set in. So the Uddiyana Bandha to be done here. Nabho Sayamya. So this Sayamana has to be done through Uddiyana Bandha. Means there is no tamas, at least rajas is there, you understand. Then comes Pavana Gati Adham Rodhaya Sam Prayatnadat. So once you do Uddiyana Bandha, now you need to, let us say, restrain, you can say uplift the prana from Muladhara. And remember, when this is being done, so how do you pull? So we use technically through a Sukshma Tantu. These are the technical words we use. In fact, I remember in my teenage time, one elderly person, because sometimes really, I don't know whether they're alive or no more, they had helped me a lot without explaining. Of course, they didn't have that much maybe systematic knowledge. I cannot say they didn't have, it's wrong to say that. Maybe. One word they will say, do you understand Sukshma Tantu? I might have broken my head for months. What is Sukshma Tantu? And they will never explain. Read, practice, then I'll go back. No, yes, no, yes. And maybe if I look at myself, that has helped me a lot and I could do it. Whereas for you people, everything is available comfortably. That's why none of you are practicing. If things becomes a little complicated, I'm sure you will start practicing and that will be with you. But anyway, that's not my problem. So here also we need to see that he says that Sukshma Tantu means here how you pull. So there is a thread, Tantu means a thread, very subtle, from Manipuraka to Muladhara. Don't visualize there is a thread, okay? So, and through that Sukshma Tantu, you pull up anus. That's why what we do, sometimes we practice, we allow the apana to release again tight, release tight, release tight. In fact, technically, when we practice our method, earlier we used to call Yoga Vidya, now we are calling as Vishvamitra Kriya. I don't know how many of you are comfortable with my vision. That's another question. Like somebody called me today and asked, Swamiji, why you are angry? I am not angry. Okay. But each one has got their own version of me now. Okay. Why should I be angry? It is your problem, not my problem. My problem is that whether you are able to understand my teaching or not, that is a big question. That's why I am, disoriented. Because if you understand my teaching, you will be with my vision. If you are not with my vision, that means you don't understand teaching. Can you see this point? So when you are not aligned with my vision, I'm sorry, I took it a little differently. Definitely, you are not with the teaching. And when I discover you are not in the teaching, what happens to me? That's why you might be noticing now. I don't feel like giving translation to you people. I spend a lot of time for you people. Why should I give translation? Just take the class, you take note, whatever. Whether I give translation or not, it will be closed as it is. So why do I give translation? Do whatever you want. Because the teaching and vision is, suppose if you think that my vision is different from teaching, hey, let us discuss. I'm ready. However, let us not get into that mode. Here, Apana, we do this squatting in Vishvamitra Kriya. Through that, we allow that this Muladhara to open up, to close, open up, to close. All these are tricks I have thought of a lot before creating a package. And many of yoga teachers I noticed also here, very few are there, only one, now recently 1, 2 or 3 are there. Many of them don't teach our package. They think this package is useless. That, the pride of being associated has not come because you have not seen benefit in your life through the teaching. When you will see the benefit of the teaching, you will feel proud. That's why sometimes those who belongs to this, Seva group, this group, that group, the togetherness, the pride that they have is amazing. Sometimes really to be appreciated. I'm not talking you should be that, okay? That's not my point. I'm just trying to talk how things move in life. So once you start pulling up, then what happens? He says, look, now slowly you need to take up from Manipura, you need to take Anahata. Because this pulling up through the thread is a knack, not a trick. So there is a knack. Don't look for trick. Problem with you people. You all look for tricks. Whereas if you understand it is a knack, so you know how to manage what to do, what not to do. And here, once you try to that take up from there, then from Anahata Chakra, you need to, because through Anahata Chakra, you pass through what is called Vishnu Granthi. Then after Vishnu Granthi, then you will be passed through Rudra Granthi. Then only you will pass through Brahmarandra. Unless these three Granthis, Vedanam, are not done. Remember, Kundalini, Jagrata will not happen. That's why here he says, once this happens, then only the Atma, or you can say Jivatma, starts merging with Sunya Akash, Sunya Gagani, the Gaganam, the space that is free from everything, not empty space. Don't translate that way. And there is no emptiness. There is Mahesha, Deva Mahesha Iti. So you meet with Shiva. That is called Shiva Tattva here. So this Brahma is in the form of Maheshwara. So that means you need to be very careful why it is called Kundalini. Quickly, I can try to say. There are various explanations regarding Kundalini. One of the most popular we use based on Yoga Kundalini Upanishad, where it is being taught that when Apanavayu is being pulled up and it passes through Bandhimandala, Manipura, so it gets heated up. So when it gets heated up, then of course, with the help of Vayu, because all tattvas goes okay, from that's why dharana, if you have done properly, you will be able to understand. Bhutattva, Jala Tattva, Vayu Tattva, Akasa Tattva, and Agni Tattva in between, how it works. So with the help of Vayu, the fire becomes stronger. So when the fire becomes stronger, the energy that is lying down, like a serpent, boom, comes up. So when it comes up like a snake lying down, what happens? When it is being heated up, if you observe in summer, what happens to the snakes? Have you observed? Poof, they stand, then finally what happens? They will try to find out a hole. Wherever they find a hole, So also when this is being heated up, then finally they get through called Susumna. And once it goes through Susumna, and of course, this is called now the Kundalini is up. Once it starts going up, it's exactly like a snake. That is a beautiful concept. Also, they bring Shiva Tattva. That's why finally the snake, that which was dangerous, comes to the Lord Shiva as an ornament. And of course, this has to happen when it passes through and this three granthis and finally enters into Brahmanadi. And that is what called Kundalini Chakra, awakening your Kundalini. I think today I have taken more time. Om Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnas Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, all of you.